All right, let's jump right into this. Today we're unpacking a really profound, deeply emotional story that revolves around a mysterious event at the ancient Jagannath Temple. It's got a missing pearl necklace, a young orphan boy, and a string of pretty miraculous events. But when you look beneath the surface of this mystery, it's actually this incredibly powerful exploration of human judgment, empathy, and what devotion actually means. So we're going to walk through exactly what happened, step by step, and look at what this story can teach us about what happens when our rigid rules crash head-on into basic human compassion.
Imagine the absolute panic at the temple when this story kicks off. The morning starts with total chaos because the deity's priceless pearl necklace has completely vanished overnight. Right away, everyone's first instinct is, well, obviously someone stole it. The authorities instantly pull up the security cameras to check the night's footage. But here is where it gets weird. A super meticulous review of those cameras reveals absolutely no one entering or leaving the temple. Nothing. So we're left with this crazy, impossible question. Was this the work of some invisible thief, or are we looking at literal divine intervention?
Now, to really grasp how this mystery unfolds, we've got to look at the people involved. And specifically, we need to contrast two wildly different views of the temple itself. On one side, you have this 8-year-old orphan boy named Mugu. No parents, no official name on paper, just torn clothes and bare feet. To Mugu, the temple wasn't this massive, formal religious site, it was just his home. And Lord Jagannath wasn't just a distant deity, he was literally Mugu's best friend. He'd chat with the statue every single day, complaining if he didn't get his food or if the priests were slacking on the sweeping. But on the flip side, we have the priests and the temple committee. To them, the temple is this highly sacred institution governed by strict rules, security cameras, and absolutely rigid protocols. This massive clash in perspectives, that is exactly what sets the stage for the tragedy that follows.
Let's track how this all went down. The whole thing was triggered when a desperate mother rushed into the temple one afternoon. She was crying, her clothes were torn, and she was literally begging the deity to save her dying child because she couldn't afford the hospital bills. Mugu was watching this quietly and just asked her, "Hey, how big is your child?" And she told him, "About your size." Fast forward to that night, after everyone else had left, Mugu stayed behind to talk to his divine friend. Well, by the next morning, the necklace was gone. And because some guy reported seeing Mugu wandering around the temple at night, boom, all suspicion immediately falls on this innocent little boy.
Section 1. The motive. Mugu's innocent friendship.
So according to the story, during that quiet night alone in the temple, Mugu looks up at his divine friend and innocently asks this incredibly heartbreaking question. Will the child die? If he has a mother, why would you take him away? The kid was pleading with the statue, and Mugu later claimed that a voice, coming from right nearby, actually told him to take the pearl necklace to save that mother's child. In his head, he absolutely wasn't stealing. He was just running an errand for his best friend to help out a desperate mom.
0. That is the exact amount of money from that secretly sold necklace that Mugu kept for himself. When the necklace was swapped for cash, every single penny went straight to the hospital to pay for the sick child's operation. He had zero interest in wealth, he literally just wanted to carry out what he thought was a direct divine request to save a life.
Section 2. A harsh judgment.
Now get this, the mother actually comes back to the temple outside, crying tears of total joy, telling everyone that some mysterious donor sold the Lord's necklace to pay for her child's surgery. You'd think this miracle would completely clear Mugu, right? Nope, not at all. The temple committee and the priests were so hung up on the broken rule of theft, they completely brushed off Mugu's claims that he was acting on the deity's instructions. Instead, they chose rigid rules over basic empathy. They banished an 8-year-old boy. They literally threw him out onto the scorching hot stone steps of the temple in the blistering heat, without even giving him a drop of water.
Watching this escalate is just heartbreaking. By evening, the committee makes his banishment official. As night falls, the heavy temple doors slam shut, leaving little Mugu outside in the freezing cold. By midnight, the elements take their toll, and he collapses on the steps with a severe, burning fever. And when morning finally breaks, do the priests rush to help this half-conscious, freezing child? Nope. They see him lying there, and instead of calling an ambulance, they waste precious, critical time debating whether a quote-unquote thief even deserves medical attention, arguing that they need to establish the truth of the theft first.
Section 3. The tragic realization.
Those delays were fatal. By the time they finally stopped arguing and actually called an ambulance, Mugu was barely breathing. As the ambulance drove off, this heavy silence just blanketed the temple. A little while later, the hospital called the head priest. Despite everything, Mugu tragically passed away, and the head priest, just staring at the deity, muttered this absolutely devastating realization. We were too late. It finally hit him that their hesitation, their endless debating over rules and demanding proof, literally cost an innocent boy his life. Just one single hour. That was the critical window the doctor told them about on that phone call. If the temple committee had just sent Mugo to the hospital 1 hour earlier, instead of standing around arguing about whether he was guilty or not, the boy would have survived. Their absolute obsession with being right literally ate up the time they needed to save him.
The tragedy somehow gets even deeper when the mother of the saved child comes back to the temple trying to find and thank her anonymous savior. When she finds out that Mugu died because he was accused of stealing, she just collapses in grief. And she turns around and shames the entire crowd, making this incredibly powerful point. The necklace was never just stolen jewelry or some piece of property worth killing over. In her words, it was God's trust that was simply used to save a human life.
But there's one final, totally inexplicable twist to all this. The very next morning, that priceless pearl necklace miraculously reappears, just perfectly draped right back around the neck of the deity. Once again, they check the cameras, and once again they show absolutely zero people entering or leaving. It was just suddenly back. This completely unexplainable event forced the priests and the committee to swallow a really harsh truth. This whole ordeal was a divine test of their humanity, and it was a test they had spectacularly failed.
Section 4. The final lesson. The morning the necklace returned, a priest who was sweeping the floor found this little cotton pouch that belonged to Mugu. Inside, there was a piece of paper with a note written in the boy's broken, messy handwriting. It basically asked that if the necklace ever came back, no one should be punished. And it included this unbelievably mature, totally heartbreaking sentence: the reward for doing the right thing isn't always staying alive. Even at the very end, Mugu didn't hold any resentment. He really just wanted to help his friend. This story leaves us with some really profound, actionable takeaways, whether it's for parenting or just how we treat people. If a child takes something or someone breaks a rule, our first reflex is usually anger. But we've got to learn to hit pause and listen to both sides of the story. We have to understand the actual context before we rush in with a judgment. And above all, it's a massive reminder that we simply cannot let rigid rules and protocols delay basic human compassion. The highest form of devotion isn't guarding an object, it's making timely, righteous choices to protect life.
It's super easy to sit back and judge the priests in this story, right? But I think we really need to look in the mirror here. In our own daily lives, how often are we acting exactly like that temple committee? How often do we demand proof, blindly enforce strict rules, and let our hasty judgments delay the very compassion someone desperately needs? So next time you're facing a situation that calls for empathy, I want you to ask yourself this. Are you busy arguing over the rules, or are you doing what it takes to actually help?